The Army has 102 critical security gaps that it says it'll fix immediately. The annual Hack the Army Bug Bounty event found 238 total cyber vulnerabilities. Rear Admiral Danelle Barrett, U.S. Navy retired, as former Deputy CIO of the Navy and former Director of Current Operations at U.S. Cyber Command. Danelle, welcome back. It's good to see you. You're author of Rock the Boat, Embrace Change, Encourage Innovation, and Be a Successful Leader. Is this good news or bad news, Danelle, that these bug bounties found these vulnerabilities?
It's actually great news on a remediation front and in a visibility front, because in the DoD, just like any big or large organization, we struggle to find, the best way to automate things, to discover vulnerabilities and to fix them quickly. And so to have creative minds crowdsource on the problem, and in this case, the annual Hack the Army event, this is the third one the Army's done, the 11th general bug bounty overall under the Hack the Pentagon program that started back in 2016. But they had 40 top-tier security researchers from academia, industry, the military, working for 6 weeks from January on, and found those vulnerabilities. And they ended up paying out $150,000 this year to civilians who participated, and $275,000 last year in the Army's Hack the Army program. So I think it's a good way to incentivize white hat ethical hacking and to help the Navy, Army, Air Force, Marine Corps identify vulnerabilities that they might not have otherwise found and help to fix those.
It's striking to me the amount of money that's involved here from the small size perspective. 150 grand to find serious vulnerabilities strikes me as a tremendous bargain for the Army and for the other departments, right, Danelle?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you paid one contractor to, kind of persistently poke around your network for a while, I mean, you would pay way more than that. So, and this is a way to get multiple people with multiple different styles of ethical hacking on the problem and looking at from different perspectives and what they're going after. And so I think you get a lot of creative crowdsourcing that way, and a big bang for your buck, honestly. The real cost is in the remediation and how quickly can you do that, because the cost of a failed network is incalculable.
You just said something there that I don't think I knew, and that is that there are different styles of ethical hacking. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, some people specialize in different types of equipment, different types of protocols, different tactics, techniques, and procedures that an adversary might use. So if you get somebody who's really strong in one area and they go after your network, and they're your only guy on the network, well, you may do really well there, but maybe not so well in other areas. Whereas if you have a bunch of ethical hackers going, they're going to have different strengths in different areas and go after different portions of the network, whether it's a process piece and a privilege piece or a hardware software piece.
You mentioned this was the 11th round of this, basically, for the department, across the department. Is there a way to scale this? Is there a way to expand it, or is it pretty much doing what it's going to do, the concept of the bug bounty program?
Well, there's two things to think about here. So the bug bounties are sort of isolated events or exercises, if you will, or things that they do that are for a set time period. The more enduring issues are sort of like they stood up 5 April of this year. DoD launched the Defense Industrial Base Vulnerability Disclosure Program, which is not a bug bounty, but it is a way to identify, for using white hat ethical hackers to find vulnerabilities on defense industrial base partner networks and DoD networks. And that was it's a 12-month pilot. It was established in combination with the DC-3, the DIB Collaboration Sharing Environment, and the Counter Intel Security Agency, all coming together. And they're looking at it from a policy, how to, if they have channels to report, and a process for remediation. So it's more of a long-term enduring program, if you will. And that program, honestly, has already 2,000 participants already signed up. And like the bug bounty, which has found over the years 27,000 vulnerabilities, about 70% of which were deemed to be valid. We think, and those were isolated events, that we think a long-term program like the Vulnerability Disclosure Program is going to do much better at that.
What it sounds like as you describe that is that this concept is now embedded into the security posture, the security process of the department. Is that a fair estimation on my part?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And there have been policy changes that have come out about that. OMB memo M2032 came out, and it said that vulnerability disclosure programs are among the most effective methods to obtain new insights on cybersecurity vulnerabilities, and the best for return on investment, similar to what you were talking about. And we're seeing some other things from big government which will help us as well. Representative Ted Lieu from California just recently on June 1st put in a proposal for a law for improving contractors cybersecurity act. And if that becomes law, it would require VDP programs and participation by federal contractors. And one other helpful note was that the Supreme Court recently narrowed the scope of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act to protect those well-intentioned, ethical, white hat hackers from being prosecuted for investigating vulnerabilities. So we're seeing systemically that this is something that the U.S. government, not just DoD, needs to be taken care of.
We have about a minute left, Danelle. What will you watch moving forward as all of these various stakeholders consider their next steps?
Well, what I'm most interested in is, getting a coordinated policy. CISA has some policy they put out in the Cyber Information Security Infrastructure Security Agency put out in September. And they're also looking to how this works with our critical infrastructure folks, how we would have that same kind of vulnerability program. But from a realistic standpoint, what we really need is industry to help us with commercial solutions that will automate our checking of the network. So we don't have to have specific bug bounties. We don't have to have specific hackers going after it. We can have machines helping us with that and automating it and automating the responses, even to the point where they can calculate in what would the operational impact of that be if we did that. Because sometimes for operational reasons, you can't shut down a network to remediate something. Something's too important. So, how do we use automation to help us with that and get to a zero trust environment? That's really what we need.
Danelle, thank you very much as always. It's great to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.